Hey everyone, it's Lisa Danforth from Lisa Danforth Coaching here with Doreen Morin Van Dam, and I am so excited to be having her on my first episode of Sustainable Leadership. Sustainable Leadership Live is all about creating a life, living our life in a way that sustains us, our teams, and our communities instead of consumes us. So Doreen's here today to talk about how important our personal branding and our stories are. Can't wait to hear what you have to share, Doreen. But first, what I'd really like to do is to share a little bit about Doreen, why I invited her on, and just her amazing experiences over the years. So again, she's going to be talking about the importance of personal branding and our stories and how it impacts how we lead. And Doreen is a social media strategist. She is an organic social media specialist, trainer, community manager, and she is a keynote speaker. If you're looking for a kick-ass speaker, definitely reach out to Doreen. She's been in the social media profession for 10 years and has experience in a multitude of different industries. Doreen started out as a local specialist working with either both B2C and B2B clients, and now she's working with national and international brands. Doreen is a certified social media professional and agile marketer, and you can always recognize her online and on stage by her signature orange glasses, which is a nod to her Dutch heritage. So Doreen, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful welcome. I forgot what bio you had, so this was my longer one, but I sure appreciate it. I'd like to just start off by saying personal branding starts with not just a gimmick or a logo, right? Personal branding is a lot more than that. So even though I say you recognize me online by my orange glasses, it's a starting point, right? A logo, something that you recognize is a starting point to start a conversation. Personal branding is so much more than me wearing these glasses or taking them off, right? So,
But they are so recognizable.
They are. And that's when I go to a conference or I speak somewhere, people recognize me, but that just is the beginning. That doesn't mean they know me. That doesn't mean they know what I stand for, who I serve, what I do. It just puts my face with my name, which is step one, which is what a logo does as well, right? It puts the name with the brand. And that's really a starting point of personal branding.
Do you find that a lot of people struggle with putting themselves out there and telling their story and really anchoring it with their personal brand?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the hardest things to do. And it's something that develops over time. I think that if you are a personal brand, if you are a business owner, or if you are looking to elevate your personal brand because you want to speak, you want to write a book, you want to go to conferences and be noticed, you want to network, the first part is recognizing that it's going to take a while, right? And that it develops over time. One great way to get you kind of starting like that diving board is to ask your friends, right? Go into Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger, and ask 5 friends, 10 friends, colleagues, and say, what are 3 things that are true about me, that you think are true about me, whether on the outside, the way I look, the way I act, the way I conduct myself, and get that theme started, right? Because you don't always know or don't recognize things in yourself. So that way, if you can start with what others think of you as a starting point, then you develop that over time. And I have a funny story about my orange glasses, Lisa. I I didn't wear orange glasses because I didn't wear glasses. So orange is a national Dutch color. And when I started my business in January 2010, in March, I got an envelope in the mail. One of my friends had sent me a pair of cardboard orange glasses to celebrate Queen's Day, which was now it's King's Day, but it was Queen's Day in the Netherlands in April. And she sent them to me in the mail, and they were a funny pair of cardboard orange glasses. And I didn't have a profile picture on Facebook. So I took a picture of myself and I put that on. Then when I really started my business by April, May, I started going out into my community, and I would walk into a local networking event and people go, I know you. You're the girl with the orange glasses. I wasn't wearing them, but they put it together. So what I did is I went online, I bought a pair of glasses, put no prescription in them, and started wearing them when I would go out and network. And so I connected that because that's what other people were thinking about this. So for years, I wore my orange glasses without a prescription. Now they have a prescription because I can't see anything. But for years, they were fake. They were fake orange glasses, but the
I never knew that
connection was
about
there.
you.
You didn't know that? See,
No,
that's
I
a
did not know
personal
that.
story right there. Yeah, they were totally fake. I have probably about 8 or 10 pair of glasses that don't have a prescription in them. This is the first pair that has prescription, and I really need them.
So that personal branding really does help you stand out, set apart, and be recognizable.
Absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times people will come to me, especially at a conference. This is a social media conference, or if I'm a speaker, and they will recognize me because they've seen my picture online, right? Because I have the same picture, the same glasses online as I wear in real life. Absolutely.
So the personal branding piece is massive, but also that story piece is going to be a very big piece of that. And we have to tell our real story, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's so easy to get caught up in different areas of stories, not always wanting to expose who we are specifically. Can you sort of dig deep in that?
Sure. So it's, you certainly have to be your authentic self, right? And everybody brings that piece with them as they come to the online folk. You come online and you are who you are, but who you are willing to reveal is very different, right? And I
Right.
think you have to have some parameters around that of what you're willing to reveal and what you're willing to share, and that can change over time. But when you start out is, where are you comfortable, and then you can push that a little bit. I know somebody who didn't reveal that they were a cancer survivor until maybe 5 years in their online journey, and then it became apparent that that was something that he wanted to share. Once he shared it, he made more meaningful connections.
Mhm.
And then he was able to help others. There are people that are not willing to talk about mental health, which is fine, which is a very, very personal thing. But maybe down the line, that's something they get comfortable with, right? I'm very open about sharing where I'm from. There's a huge connection with, being from Europe, growing up in the Netherlands, being bilingual, being an immigrant. Those are identities, things that for me, I can relate to others, right? So, but stories about my children and what they might be going through, those are not my stories to tell, right? So there is that box around me. I talk about my family. I talk about my dogs. I talk about the things that I love to do, running marathons, but those are my stories to tell. I don't tell stories about my children in college or things they've gone through. I don't talk about my husband's story of what he is doing in his free time. So it really needs to come from you within and your background as a child. I might talk about being the middle child of 5 and how I experienced that, right?
I can't even imagine.
There's a lot of stuff there to unwrap, being the middle one, right? It was a wonderful childhood. But I can't tell my sister's story about being the oldest girl. I can't tell my youngest brother's story about being the last one of 5 and really being left home alone. That's not my story to tell. That's his story to tell.
Right. And part of our story is, like you're just explaining, is it's how we were brought up, how we have lived, and how that impacts our story or the lens through which we see and experience life, but also I think our willingness to share. So your story of growing up, I think, is definitely impactful. How can people bring more of that, being vulnerable without being, completely uncomfortable and putting themselves all the way out there? Can you give some tools that someone might be able to use for bringing forth their story, their personal story? Because I know for me, it's my childhood that drives me to do what I do.
Yeah,
And it's hard to talk about.
I think it's a lot of self-assessment. When we talk about like soft skills that you have. I have talked about this before. As a social media manager, I'm also a community manager. I think that the years that I spend out in the community volunteering for my church, volunteering for my children's school helped me be a better community manager
Mm-hmm.
because I have that empathy. I've been there, done that. I've been out in the community. I've helped people talk to people. And then so when I'm in a community, I'm a much better listener. So time, life experience helps you, in the jobs that you have, but it also can be tied back to how you tell that story. Right. I'll use an example. I had a client who came to me that I'd been working with for several years. We had a cup of coffee. We were sitting and she said, I have a story to tell, but I'm not sure how to tell it. Can you help me? Right. And so I said, well, what's the story? She goes, well, I haven't told anybody, nobody. So the story was that she moved to where she now lives because of a violent crime, and that she had been the victim of a violent crime. And she wanted to share that story because they started the business that they had because of it. And so I said, not only is that a story worth sharing, but it has to be your way of sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but I can facilitate that because I think your story is not only worth telling to your audience, I think it's worth telling to a wider audience. So I ended up helping her. First she told the story to me, and I said, absolutely, it's worth sharing. Then we reached out to a couple of local news stations and said, hey, this is a local story worth telling. And one said, absolutely, we'll send over a crew. And so her first telling of the story was very powerful. It was very emotional. It was the first time she'd shared it publicly, but it was done in a beautiful way. And from that, then we could tell her story on LinkedIn, on her blog, use it in marketing and all of that. But it was a very impactful story. So a little bit of planning on how you develop your story and what parts you want to share can help elevate that personal brand for sure. And it also allows people to connect with you, right? Because she was a victim of a violent crime, and being able to share her experience and why and how she finally got over past it and moved forward and what good came out of it, right, made her connect to those other victims, made her connect to other people online.
And what I'm really hearing is be a leader in her field as well, to be able to create the safe space for other people to sort of step forward and talk about it, or step forward and be impacted by the business that she's now creating because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that wasn't a story for anybody else to tell but her. It wasn't a story for me to even tell or shape. And so, yeah, that's really powerful. So if you're a business owner and you're saying, well, why would I want to do this, right? Why would I want to share something that's vulnerable, scary, something that's a secret, something that people don't know? It's because you become relatable, right? You become a real human being. People do business with other people. It doesn't matter. Even if you are watching this and you want to get a big contract in a corporation and get an $80,000 contract or $100,000 contract a year, it's not the corporation that's going to sign that check or sign that contract. It's a person. It's a person in that corporation, right? It's a human to human connection that you make.
And vulnerability is so powerful. I mean, I always go back to Brene Brown, and it takes such courage to be vulnerable and to be able to put it out there. But I'm so in alignment with what you're saying, which is it needs to be told in a certain way of a comfort. How much can we put out there in a way that's safe and invites other people to step in, but also creates the impact that you want to make?
Right.
Can you?
Sure. Let me just say something else too, is in marketing, it's really important to understand that not everybody is your target audience, right?
Right.
So as a marketer, when I work with a business owner and they say, oh, I want to, I'm like, who do you want to target? Oh, anybody can buy my product. Then I know I have a lot of work to do because not everybody can buy it, but not everybody wants it.
Back up a little bit.
So knowing who it's going to help who it's for, and really understanding who you're talking to is going to help you also bring out your personal story. There are things that I don't need to share with anybody because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't impact anything. But me sharing that I'm a marathon runner connects me to other runners, other business owners who are runners. That means that when I go to a conference, I might meet up with somebody and run and have a really great one-on-one conversation. I actually did that a couple of years ago. It was a speaker who was a runner. She was training for a half marathon. I was training for a full marathon. And I was at a conference and, everybody was eating and drinking. And I was like, I need to train. And she's like, I need to train too. And we ran like an 8-mile run. It was a fantastic way to really lean in and get to know this person. And since then, we following each other's journey. And if there was ever anything I could do for her, she would know she could ask, if, vice versa. And that just really connected us on a much deeper level.
I'm really hearing that sharing our stories, does help us lead, right? It helps us be more of who we are, but it also impacts our personal life and our professional life in a very positive way.
Right.
Yeah. To back up to the client that you were talking about before, how did her sharing her story impact her business? Because we're sort of talking about sharing our stories. How did that change the way that she did business or the people that were coming to her now?
Okay, so what it did for her, first of all, it was a lot of relief for her, right? She felt better. So that was one thing. The company that they have is a business, a service business, but she started a side charity business, a nonprofit of teaching people how to do self-defense because she credited learning self-defense in high school as saving her during the violent crime. So she went out into the community and started giving self-defense classes. I ended up taking a bunch of self-defense classes. So I feel indebted to her that I feel very much empowered. So she's empowering people in the community who are either affected by a violent crime or who want to empower their daughter going off to college, their son going off to college, a son that's bullied, elderly parents living alone, by empowering them to say, yes, you can defend yourself. You can carry yourself with more confidence. Oftentimes you can prevent a crime by walking confidently, by understanding where the risks are, where the dangers are, and being smart about how you go out into the world. And so she is making an impact in the whole community, which then, of course, being known in a community as a person who teaches self-defense helps your business organically, right? So that's the impact that made. It didn't necessarily change the bottom line of her business. She can't say, well, I got 5 more accounts because of that.
Right.
But it's made an impact on how she is a leader in her community.
That's what I was sort of bringing it back to and it also a sustainable leader because you said she felt some relief about putting that story out there and being able to share it and supporting other people around, which does make it so much easier for us to continue doing what we're doing, creating the impact that we want to be making. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story and how it can truly impact how we show up personally, but also the impact that we can make, again, on ourselves, our teams, and even our community. So I notice we're coming up about on time here. I want to respect everyone's time. Doreen, where can people find you? Where's the best way to reach out to you?
Okay, well, LinkedIn is a great place for me. I'm really active on LinkedIn. So Doreen Morin Van Dam on LinkedIn. I think there's only one of me. My business name is More in Media. It's a play on words for Morin. So More and then IN Media. So at More in Media on Twitter, on Instagram, find me, as well as on my website, moreandmedia.com. So it's pretty easy.
And if you want to connect with Doreen on LinkedIn or wherever, be sure to just mention that you saw her on the live so that she can know where you're coming from. Just a little connection there, a little story behind that. And then do you have any resources, Doreen, that you can recommend, whether it's a book, a podcast, someone in a leadership position within this that you could just share with people?
Yeah, absolutely. I look to Mark Schaefer as a leader in personal branding. He's written several books, and he really um, helps you bring out your personal story and shows you how to do that. The other person I want to mention is our friend Kate Payne, who helps
Mhm.
people on LinkedIn find a personal story and brings that out so you can better connect with those you want to connect with. So if you're looking to up level your personal brand on LinkedIn, she would be a great person to connect with as well.
She's the
Kate
one,
Payne.
definitely. Great resources. Thank you. All right, one question. What skill or tool in your toolbox do you lean into most to help you be that sustainable leader, to live a life of leadership?
What tool in my toolbox?
Yeah, what is it that helps you be the leader that you are, but also sustainable so that you're creating the business and the career that will sustain your life, not consume it? Because it's so easy for us to be consumed by our business or our career.
I would say my understanding and mindset of agile,
Mhm.
something that I started looking and working towards about 2 years ago. I took an agile marketing course, and I'm in the middle of an agile foundations course. Understanding what an agile mindset means, what it means to move the pieces quicker, to be flexible, to do things with intention, to free space, to pause, which we talked about yesterday, which you
That
talk about all the time, and to give yourself that space to really work towards a goal in shorter periods of time instead of having this big lofty goal out there, doing things in sprints. And then in the agile sphere, we do what's called a stand-up meeting, and I do one with myself most days, at least on Fridays. But I ask myself these three questions: what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And where am I stuck? And that "where am I stuck" question is really important, because usually I'm stuck on things that I can fix, but sometimes I'm stuck on things that a teammate, I'm waiting for a piece of content or a meeting, but usually it's a mindset thing, right? It's
Mhm.
that frog that I don't want to eat, that thing that I don't want to do, but asking myself those questions, and I'm calling it a stand-up meeting. I can do it at my desk with my little sticky notes, but I also have a wall behind where I do this, where I move things
Mhm.
around to order. These are the things I need to get done today. This is the order I need to get done, and I'm just going to go get them done. And that really helps me. It grounds me. And ever since doing that in the last 2 years, Lisa, the agile mindset has allowed me to create more space, more thinking space, take
Mhm.
on more clients, take on higher level clients. It's really changed how I do business and how I think about business. So that's really the tool.
Made it more sustainable, which I
Yeah.
love. Perfect ending to that. So thank you so much. And if you want more information on agile marketing and agile, definitely reach out to Doreen. I really appreciate it. Please join me next week, next Wednesday at 10 a.m. East Coast time, as I speak with Sarah Monroe. She's going to be talking about leadership, communication, and community. Such a big topic. So thanks so much for joining us, whether you're live or on the replay. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Thanks so much, Doreen.
Bye, everybody.